Good evening. Welcome to South Asia Newsline. I'm Lipakshi Khurana. Here are the top stories we're tracking for you on Tuesday, the 13th of December. China tried to change status quo. India gave befitting reply, says Defence Minister on Tawang clash. Pakistan's ex-PM Imran Khan says snap polls only solution to alarming economic crisis. An Islamic State claims responsibility for hotel attack in Afghan capital. And now for all the details. India's Defence Minister Rajnath Singh on Tuesday told the Parliament that Chinese actions on December 9th were aimed at changing the status quo. But Indian troops prevented the transgression in a clash near the border in India's Arunachal Pradesh. The clash is the first after both forces engaged earlier in 2020 in the Galwan Valley, leading to major fatalities on both sides.
Indian Defence Minister Rajnath Singh on Tuesday said that Chinese actions on December 9 were aimed at changing the status quo at LAC, the line of actual control, but Indian troops prevented the transgression by China's People's Liberation Army PLA in the Indian territory. Addressing the parliament, Singh said both sides suffered injuries but there was no fatality. The incident occurred in the Tawang sector of India's northeastern Himalayan state of Arunachal Pradesh, which borders China's south and is also claimed by Beijing. Rajnath Singh further added that a flag meeting was held by Indian local commander with his counterpart over the issue, where the Chinese were asked to refrain from such actions and maintain peace and tranquility along the border.
9 दिसंबर 2022 को पीएलए ट्रुप्स ने तवांग सेक्टर के यांगसे एरिया में लाइन ऑफ एक्चुअल कंट्रोल पर अतिक्रमण कर स्टेटस को एक तरफा बदलने का प्रयास किया। चाइना के इस प्रयास का हमारी सेना ने दृढ़ता के साथ सामना किया है अध्यक्ष महोदय, और इस फेस ऑफ में हाथापाई भी हुई है। भारतीय सेना ने बहादुरी से पीएलए को हमारी टेरिटरी में अतिक्रमण करने से रोका और उन्हें उनकी पोस्ट पर वापस जाने के लिए मजबूर कर दिया अध्यक्ष महोदय। इस झड़प में दोनों ओर के कुछ सैनिकों को चोटें भी आई हैं।
Earlier in the day, Interior Minister Amit Shah asserted the Chinese side did not cede any territory during the recent clash and applauded the Indian troops' actions. Meanwhile, the Chinese Foreign Ministry spokesperson Wang Wenbin, reacting to the face-off on Tuesday, called the situation on the India-China border as generally stable. The recent clash near Tawang is the first after the two Asian giants engaged in hand-to-hand combat in Galwan Valley of India's Ladakh, which resulted in 20 fatalities on the Indian side. China claimed at least 4 Chinese troops were killed, but reports suggest the count could be more. The 2020 incident has kept the bilateral relations between Beijing and New Delhi uneasy.
And the first meeting of G20 Development Working Group kicked off in India's Mumbai city on Tuesday, with the country's G20 sherpa Amitabh Kant presiding over the event. A review of progress in sustainable development goals and G20's efforts to achieve the targets will be the center point during the 4-day meeting.
The first meeting of G20 Development Working Group (DWG) under India's presidency kicked off in Mumbai city on Tuesday. Talking about India's vision, the country's Sherpa Amitabh Kant said that India will focus on its human-centric sustainable development goals story and citizen-centric governance. A review of SDG progress and G20's efforts to achieve the SDG targets will also be the center point at the 4-day meeting. Kant, in his address, termed data as a key aspect to help any country meet their developmental goals, adding that the Indian government is aiming good data governance, for which they have introduced initiatives like Data Governance Quality Index.
So I think that India will bring in a ray of hope, of optimism, of being very action-oriented, inclusive. As the Prime Minister has said, our objective will be to take the world forward in partnership.
Meanwhile, the first G20 Finance and Central Bank Deputies meeting also began on Tuesday in India's southern Bengaluru city. This meeting marks the start of discussions on the finance track agenda under India's G20 presidency. The presidency lies at a crucial midpoint of the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development adopted in 2015.
Pakistan's Opposition PTI party chief Imran Khan on Monday said that the only solution to the ongoing alarming economic condition of the country is holding early elections as the economy is linked to political stability. The South Asian nation is in dire need of funds to cover its current account deficit and debt obligations, for which it needs over $30 billion US.
Opposition Pakistan Tehreek-e-Insaf Party chairman Imran Khan on Monday said that the only solution to the ongoing alarming economic condition is holding early elections as the country's economy is linked to political stability. The former Prime Minister in a video address said small and large-scale businesses were the most affected, while exports were also declining gradually. Foreign investors are not interested as Pakistan's credit risk rating has moved up to 100%, he said. Lashing out at PM Shahbaz Sharif's government, Khan said the ruling coalition has failed to tackle rupee-dollar parity and rising loans. He said if people do not speak up, they will be responsible for the destruction of the country.
देख रहे हैं प्रोग्राम, सबको पता है कि इसका हल एक है, फ्री एंड फेयर इलेक्शंस. इसके अलावा और कोई दूसरा हल है ही नहीं. जो मुझे आज बता दे कि इसके अलावा इसका हल क्या है, मुझे एक आदमी बता दे इसका हल क्या है. वो इसलिए हल नहीं है कि जो मायशत है मुल्क की, वो डिपेंड करती है मुल्क के अंदर पॉलिटिकल स्टेबिलिटी पे.
Pakistan is in dire need of funds to cover its current account deficit and debt obligations, for which it needs over $30 billion in external financing. Expected funds from the IMF have been delayed as the program's 9th review is yet to formally begin. Since the ouster of his PTI-led government in April, Khan has been demanding snap polls, a demand the ruling coalition has rejected, saying they will be held as per schedule later next year.
And moving on, the Awami Action Committee in Gilgit Baltistan took out a protest rally recently against the imposition of taxes, cut in wheat subsidy and a rise in electricity prices in the illegally occupied region. Local residents have complained that there is no authority to address their issues, accusing that the Pakistan government has continued to turn a blind eye to their problems.
The rise in inflation, cut in wheat quota, heavy taxes and ignorance by the administration has irked the residents of Gilgit Baltistan. Protesting against these issues, the Awami Action Committee took out a march in Ghadi Bagh recently. Maulana Sultan Rais, a political activist, pointed out the prices of wheat are expected to rise further. Even electricity has been made expensive and there is no one to address these issues. The socio-political group warned of further protests over the unjust economic policies that have severely affected the locals in Gilgit Baltistan.
गिलगित बल्तिस्तान में टैक्सेस का मुकम्मल निफाज हो चुका है. एक्साइज के नाम पे टैक्सेस लग चुके हैं, गंदम के ऊपर टैक्सेस लग चुके हैं, आपकी बिजली के ऊपर टैक्सेस लग चुके हैं, आपकी तिजारत के ऊपर टैक्सेस लग चुके हैं. इन तमाम तर चीज़ों को मद्देनजर रखते हुए अवामी एक्शन कमेटी ने आज के इस एहतजाजी रैली के जरिए से ये फैसला किया है कि अवामी एक्शन कमेटी गुज़िश्ता तहरीकों के जरिए तरह से इस बार भी अवामी एक्शन कमेटी अपने हुकूक के उसूल के लिए, गंदम सब्सिडी की बहाली के लिए, टैक्सेस के निज़ाम के खात्मे के लिए, महंगी बिजली से अवाम का जान छुड़ाने के लिए अवामी एक्शन कमेटी तहरीक कार दे चुकी है.
बिजली सिरे से है ही नहीं, लेकिन कोई खुदारा इस चीज़ को ऑन करे, कौन करेगा? हमारे मुतालिबात का हल कौन करेगा? जिन अवामी नुमाइंदों को हम लोगों ने इलेक्ट करके भेजा असम्बली के अंदर, वो जाके इस्लामाबाद में बैठे हुए हैं. क्या हम अवाम का कोई जायज़ मुतालिबात रखने वाला कोई शख्स यहाँ मौजूद नहीं है?
Residents of Gilgit Baltistan have long complained of discrimination by Islamabad, accusing the government of repeatedly turning a blind eye to the problems faced by the people of the illegally occupied region. They accuse Pakistan, which rules the region through a proxy, does not grant the locals any political rights and representation, although it taxes them heavily.
And in news from Afghanistan, the Islamic State militant group on Monday claimed responsibility for an attack on a hotel in central Kabul, which ended with the killing of 3 attackers and several people wounded, Taliban officials said. Taliban spokesman Zabiullah Mujahid said that 2 foreigners were also injured while trying to escape by jumping from the hotel balcony.
Militant group Islamic State on Monday claimed responsibility for an attack by armed men on a hotel in central Kabul popular with Chinese nationals. The ruling Taliban said the attack had ended with at least attackers gunned down by security forces. Kabul's emergency hospital, run by an Italian non-profit, reported receiving 21 casualties, 18 injured and 3 dead on arrival. Taliban spokesman Zabiullah Mujahid said that 2 foreigners were injured while trying to escape by jumping from the hotel balcony. Meanwhile, U.S. State Department spokesperson Ned Price condemned the attack and called on the Taliban to fulfill its commitments made to the international community to not allow the use of Afghan soil for terrorism.
We condemn in the strongest possible terms the use of violence against innocent civilians. The Afghan people have been subjected to levels of violence that are far too high for far too long. And we condemn unequivocally what has happened today.
The Islamic Emirate of Afghanistan, the name the Taliban refers to its government as, says it has improved security in the country since taking power last August, although the local offshoot of the Islamic State has carried out several attacks.
Well, moving on to news from Nepal, the National Human Rights Commission of Nepal has requested information from the government regarding a proposed ordinance aimed to withdraw criminal cases against people involved in political agitations. The move has drawn widespread condemnation from several political leaders and civil society members.
Nepal's National Human Rights Commission has sought information from the government regarding the ordinance proposing to amend the Criminal Procedure Code, whereby the government can withdraw cases filed against people involved in political agitations who have subsequently entered into agreements to renounce violent methods. A cabinet meeting held on Monday decided to bring the ordinance, which has been sent to President Bidya Devi Bhandari for approval. Reports suggest the legislation aims to pave the way for the release of Resham Chaudhary, who is an advisor to the Nagarik Unmukti Party and is serving a life sentence for allegedly masterminding the 2015 Tikapur massacre. The move has drawn widespread criticism from several political leaders, including from the ruling Nepali Congress. This comes as the ruling coalition, which needs 2 seats in the House of Representatives to get to the halfway mark in the 275-member House of Representatives, is trying to win the support of other political parties, including the Netra Bikram Chand-led Communist Party of Nepal, who have been complaining that despite getting into peace pacts with the government, some of their cadres and leaders are still languishing in jails.
Well, the annual sowing process of tulip bulbs is in full swing, with new designs being created to attract more visitors to Asia's largest tulip garden in India's Jammu and Kashmir. Located in the foothills of the Zabarwan Hills, the tulip garden witnesses thousands of tourists from across the world every year. Take a look.
The sowing process of tulip bulbs is in full swing for the next year's tulip show at the Asia's largest tulip garden in India's Jammu and Kashmir to make it more attractive for visitors. Located in the foothills of the Zabarwan Hills, overlooking the famous Dal Lake, the tulip garden attracts thousands of tourists from across the world every year. Its opening also marks the beginning of a new tourism season in the Kashmir Valley. Workers have been preparing new designs and sowing Holland bulbs in the garden. The annual activity provides livelihood to a large number of gardeners, laborers and contractors.
लोग आते हैं यहाँ पे, वो सिर्फ शो देखने आते हैं जब फूल निकलते हैं, लेकिन उसके पीछे जो बैकग्राउंड होता है कि उसमें कितनी मेहनत लगती है, वो तो आज हम करते हैं. जैसे डिज़ाइन बनाने हैं, बल्ब लगाने हैं और सब लोग मिलजुल के ये काम करें. ऑफिसर लोग, गार्डनर्स लोग, जो लेबर यहाँ पे है, इन सभी की मेहनत से आप देख रहे हैं कि मार्च अप्रैल में कैसा शो होता है.
Spread over 30 acres, the tulip garden is built on a mountain slope. The flower field has 7 terraces, each with different varieties of flowers, especially tulips. Each year, new flowers are added in the garden.
Well, that's all we have for you from South Asia this evening. Now our viewers can watch the show on SouthAsiaNewsline.com. You can also visit us on Facebook.com/SAsiaNewsline and follow us on Twitter @SAsiaNewsline. That's all in tonight's edition. We'll see you same time tomorrow. Good night.